wasn't this much going on. And I know as a parent, my heart would drop if they had a shooting at my kid's school. So my heart goes out, condolences to the families of the victims, and just was really touched by that yesterday. So that's
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah, it was. I want to send my condolences and prayers to the victims of the shooting in Madison at the Abundant, I believe it's Abundant Life Christian School.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, we see these patterns, and for whatever reason, individuals, yeah, of all ages, especially youth who haven't even fully matured to understand the steps that you're taking or the actions that you're taking and how much you're going to be, changing the trajectory of your life if you do have a life after this situation. So obviously, this person doesn't. Looks like from something I was just reading that she was more, infatuated with like things that happened when I was a kid, like the Columbine school shooting, which
Hmm.
at that time I remember even some of the kids when I was at in school, they thought that little trench coat look was kind of cool after Columbine. So, a lot of them had that. Matrix had came out at that time, around that time too, a little like a year after. But
Yeah.
um, people get infatuated with these type of things. We've seen it over history with everybody from a fan of a Paul Bundy or any of the killers or anybody they feel. I mean, we see how it is with Louis Mangione, the guy who killed the healthcare executive. People, you know, of all types love bad guys, and if they feel like they go against the system, or if they, or even for like this situation, this person was obsessed with a shooting or wore like a T-shirt, was seen with like a T-shirt that one of the Columbine shooters had wore back in the late '90s. That right there is showing you that they got like a little obsession with, you know, a history and
Hmm.
tragic history, and that's a
Hmm.
mental health issue, especially when you obsess to. Now it's cool to understand it, study it. Like a lot of people just be curious with, these type of crimes, but at the same time, taking it and having obsession, wearing their shirts and wearing the things that they wore, the trench coats, the glasses, just little stuff that people try to do to show their alignment with uh, these mass murderers from the 20th century or the early 21st century. Is weird, but as we see that going to our schools and interfering with innocent lives, is happening far too often. The average a year across the country of school shootings is wild. Whether it's one person shot or 10, it's high. That's a lot of school shootings. We just need to have, how do you say it? We just need to have a, a new structure some in some school systems across the country. I know where police usually are. I know some people are not fan of police liaison officers and things like that. I just think it depends on the officer, every individual, every school district, the district that officer may be working in, and
What
who
about
you put.
parents?
And yeah, I mean, we know that starts at home for sure, for sure. The responsible. It seems like it's so cliche to be like the
Because a lot
responsibility.
of the
Yeah,
kids that do these shootings,
they,
you have these parents that's out of touch with their
yeah, their kid.
their emotions,
What's going
their
on in the house and stuff.
personality, what's going on with
Yeah.
them. Even if they're getting bullied in school,
Hmm.
if they are building up that anger, a lot of parents are out of touch with them. And then you have a lot of parents of these students that literally let them practice with guns. And
Yeah.
one of the students that he shot up the school, a school in Philadelphia,
Yeah.
and he killed his mother too. But had he not killed her, they would have been considering charging her for the murders that he did do, because
Because
she would say when he was infatuated with guns and when he has his tempers or has the moments, she would take him out to their gun range and let him shoot.
how old was he?
10.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that happens all across the country. A lot of people have, they teach their kids how to shoot at a young age. A lot of young kids do start with like 22 rifles and things like that, do competition shooting and hunting. And I'm sure some of our listeners have family members and friends or themselves do hunting, shooting, targeting this, etc. It's just like you say, always go back to that individual parent and how you really do your parenting. Are you hands on with this? Like, are you teaching the severity? You know, it would be for me to the point like, oh, you want to shoot guns? Okay, let me show you the consequences. Let's align this. Let's show you the depths of this. Like, and then once you get to like 14, 15, for me as being a parent, if I was a parent, I'm gonna show you what a bullet hole looks like in a person. You know, scare straight on, because if you don't understand the damage that it causes to the body and wounds and life and trauma, then you wouldn't. Then your respect with the firearm should go up even more. But some parents just, you know, they'll let them get the kid, and the kid has access. It just depends. It's a household thing.
I respect what you saying, Brian, even though you don't have kids. That's an excellent idea. For one. For two, why it's an excellent idea is because these kids nowadays play games way more than we play games.
Yeah.
And it's them shoot 'em up, kill 'em
Yeah,
games,
I like me a good
rob
little,
'em.
you know, I love me
Yeah.
a good little shoot 'em up video game, you know,
Right.
war games. I
But the
love them.
thing is,
And my
you had
basketball,
these kids
football.
at 7, 8, 9. This is their babysitter sitting there playing
Dude,
them
let me
games
tell
the
you,
whole
yes.
time. And
What's
they
going
don't
on with that?
get that concept.
I'm trying to
I
figure out
just feel
what's up
like
with
the
that, man.
concept
It's
in
way
their
more younger
head,
people letting the kids
they
play
don't
shooting
relate that
games.
I'll
this
tell
is
you what it is.
just a game.
It's not. They let them at a way younger age play the more graphic shooting games,
Mhm.
not like the more colorful fun stuff. They letting
Yeah.
them play
Mhm.
the dark stuff too early.
I'll tell you what it is. When we was younger playing video games, you know, that we played the fun games like the Pitfalls and the Super Mario
Yeah.
Brothers and,
Mhm.
you know, Contra,
Sonics
you know,
and-
Sonics
Contra.
and things like that. Now you have a generation, and I actually said this when this whole Grand Theft Auto era first started. When I saw
Man,
that game,
I'm in the beginning of that Grand Theft Auto era.
right,
I'm
that
right there at the
very,
age.
that very beginning of that Grand Theft, the Mafia video games.
Yeah, my son's is.
I can't.
Those games, when it started, I saw it and said, we have to be very careful to what we allow our kids to see because it's branding them into these characters on these video
Mhm.
games.
But
And sure enough, you've seen it as time progresses. People
Yeah.
flying speed through traffic, they stealing cars, they taking police on high speed chases. But the thing that they need to understand is that's a video game. So after you die on that video game,
Ain't
you
no
reappear.
second.
You
But
come
in
back
life-
because it's a game.
But
Yeah.
in life,
But in life,
it's
that
no
doesn't
game.
happen.
So
Yeah,
they are finding out too late. So they find out that when they die, you're not coming back. So now
Yeah.
your parents got to figure out how to put
Ain't
you
no
in the
way
ground.
you can. Ain't
Yeah.
no way.
Or when you do all these offenses, you're going
They
to
don't.
prison.
They don't go away.
This
They don't
ain't
go
this
away.
ain't a
Right.
game. You don't get points for
Yeah.
this. You don't
Yeah,
get
to
coins and
stars and all that other
stars
stuff.
or
So in their
upgrade
head,
your
they probably
guns.
seeing
You-
stars at
yeah.
the corner of their screen, like, oh, this police chasing, whatever, woo, woo, woo. But them not understanding that reality is after you done chasing them and they catch you and you got to sit, now you thinking, man, that was dumb. I shouldn't have did that.
Right,
Mhm.
right,
No.
right.
Yeah.
they
Right.
playing a game.
So that's
inside the
one of the
game.
big things. What you say?
Yeah,
Carl?
Garvey, what was you about to say? I see
Nah,
your hand
I'm
a
just
little
saying
bit.
they playing a game inside of the real game.
Yeah, doing something
Right.
Yeah.
That's really, really true. That's one of the biggest factors to me that I noticed that a lot of these young adults don't have that cutoff. They think it's just that empathy. They think the playing that game is like playing life.
Also, you
And
have
it's
a lot
not.
of selfish people because if they really cared about what the kids saw, and if you really want to play the game as an adult, your mind is developed enough that you can
Right.
understand that it's just a game. Um, but if you really want to play it and there's kids around, wait till the kids go to sleep.
Mhm.
Don't have the kids sitting around and they watching this stuff, which
Mhm.
again is branding them.
Mhm.
It's making them. So now they gonna want to play that game, but they gonna want to sit
Yeah.
and play. So when they get their hands on it and play it and all this stuff that's in it, from the sex and
Yeah.
the violence and the drugs, and then you wonder why 10 years later, man, that they want to be a trap boy and they want to ride around and have this stuff.
I would say if you were impressionable by like a video game to that extent, you definitely need. You had another. Your childhood
It
was
don't
different.
mean
'Cause-
like
Look
that,
at it now,
Brian.
though.
It don't
No,
mean
but
like
look
they're
at-
impressionable by
Yeah,
that.
well,
It means that those games That's just like
I don't.
reality
But
to them.
Yeah.
Where to the point of what I'm saying is, it's not. Even though we know it's virtual reality,
hmm
their mind isn't mature enough
To
to
understand it. Yeah.
understand the difference between a game
A
but
prime
and
example.
resetting
but
and
also
life.
you got to talk about when y'all talk about this, you can't just mention one age group because you can mention 7, 8 year olds, but
Oh
it's
no,
really
it's the mind.
it's really the 10 to 14 year old. It's really
No,
the eight. It's really the 9 to 12 year olds,
no,
13
Vito,
year
you really
olds.
can't say that
No.
because there's some old fools out here that would
Hmm.
play that game and get out here
But
in the
you
street and
can't
do
say
that
it's just
stuff.
you
But
can't you
what
want
I'm
to say it's
saying is
just the
No,
those
video
no,
game
same
though.
kids
no.
though are been playing that game since they
Yeah,
was 3 or 4. Cause I got a grandson and Roblox and all them
Right,
yeah,
games.
yeah,
right.
And they got a candy bar. You can go to the store and they make these games like
yeah. I know. I
reality,
had
like
my
Roblox.
godson was playing Roblox for a long
You
time.
go to the store and you get this candy bar called these nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So listen,
yeah,
And look how little these kids is. You
yeah,
know how old Dukes is.
wait.
yeah,
At that time, he 5 and 6, and you telling me, Granny, I want this candy bar from the store for to get points on my game. What's the name of the candy bar? It's a new candy bar. And then you say that
yeah.
Yeah.
like,
Hey, but check
no,
this
you're
out
not
though.
finna get that. And let me see what this game about.
See, it's not really about the video game. It's about the mind. This is a
Yeah.
prime example
Mm-hmm.
with the music, and I'm gonna use me as a living example.
Hmm.
Back in the day, I used to ride around listening to Tupac,
Hmm.
and my favorite song every day that was in my car that I played was "Me and My Girlfriend."
Hmm.
And this was really saying it was talking about you and your pistol.
Yeah.
So by me playing that song and hearing that song, and I'm in the car, all I need in this life, it made me put my pistol on the seat
Hmm.
and ride with it. Then my mind frame was I'm ready for any and everything
Right.
Mm-hmm.
because the music was driving. It was driving my mind, which then drove me.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So it's basically saying you have to protect what you see and hear because you can never unsee it. You can never unhear it.
Hmm.
And for these kids that's seeing this stuff,
Yeah, that's it goes in the subconscious.
and
Yeah.
then it brands you
Hmm.
because man, look at music videos. Though. You
Yeah.
see people with these clothes on and a certain look,
Hmm.
and then a few minutes later, you have people that want to look like these
But
people.
that's what
That
I'm
want to
saying.
dress
Like to
like these
be
people.
impersonable to that level. When I just look at the way collectively Milwaukee people like to dress the same, like the overall group, unless you have your own individual style, which a lot of us do in the city. But collectively, it's a large group of men and women here who like to look the same. They
But it
have the
started
same,
somewhere though.
huh?
But it
It
started
did,
somewhere.
but all they did, but this is the same thing that happened. I look at
That's
every
trend.
trend in Milwaukee that I
That's
can
their trend,
recognize.
right?
Yeah.
It's the
Right.
trend, but just
Yeah.
like when New Orleans had flooded,
Yeah.
when New Orleans flooded, New Orleans people went all across the country,
Yeah.
and it was a lot of New Orleans people here in Milwaukee. I remember
Yeah.
this one brother was at the park. I used to hoop at whatever the school is, Craig Montessori, and I, I seen him and met like 5 dudes from New Orleans. I just slowly started seeing cats with locks.
Uh,
From 2005, that's when I started seeing everybody in Milwaukee get locks. It was '06 and beyond. Everybody was locking their hair, and it was because New Orleans started.
nah, bro.
New
No,
Orleans, well,
No,
as a
man,
big
that was
trend, as a
no,
big
man, that was
trend.
no.
no, bro. That was the whole hip hop era, man.
Yeah.
In the '90s, man, cats was wearing locks in the '90s.
Yeah.
From that
Well,
And
New
then
my
York,
you
age,
seen
Brooklyn.
you
well,
seen
we in two
more.
different age groups too. So I'm talking about the
So
cats that was my. I mean, a
right,
lot of y'all
but
probably did have
but
locks, but a lot
But
of my
you
here,
cats
that's
said
in
what
my
I'm
it
groups had
started,
saying,
locks.
but
Jermaine.
you said
Right?
it started there. It didn't start there.
And
The
you
No, I
know
mean,
what
people was
made
already,
it
I know
more
people had
both.
locks
You know what
further
made
back.
in that time, what made locks so important is when they started rapping about it
yeah.
and start making it to the point where they saying if you see they boys with they locks,
So who
you
was
know
wearing
they
them though?
coming.
Who was wearing them?
I don't know, hip hop, b boys.
Yeah, the boys, the mainly from
Yeah, the
down
cats that
south,
was
It
wearing
was
the
it was
Timbs
it
and
was
mainly
the
from
army
yeah, that's
down
what I'm
pants.
saying.
south.
It was
You right?
Wayne. It was
No,
Wayne
no,
and
no,
them.
no, 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 no.
Wayne and a
No, wait,
couple
hold
of
on,
other
hold on.
cats that
See,
start
no,
that lock their hair and them
no, sir.
cats.
See, I was living on the East Coast. I was living in North Carolina.
Yeah.
I moved back from North Carolina here.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
That whole with the locks and the Timbs and the army fatigue, it was
Was
the
New
Brooklyn,
York?
New
Yeah,
York.
Oh
Brooklyn.
no,
That was
that's
that
I'm
Yeah,
not.
whole.
But that's not the
But
era
that
I'm
was
talking
that
about
whole.
either.
No, no, no. But that was the whole style that they was wearing here. Because when I got back here in what 2000,
Yeah.
2001, and it was plenty cats that was rocking the whole b-boy look because the whole hip hop era here took off.
Yeah,
So that era took off, and you saw a
but that's
lot of
not the
Rastafari. You
yeah.
saw a lot of locks
But it wasn't them
around that
locks. It
time.
wasn't that era. It's them groups too, because you got the like we said, you got the locks, and then you had the cats that was wearing more like the southern style. From my point of view, what I seen, because I was meeting a lot of
Cause my
people after the
mother
flood.
is
It was a lot
dead
of
and
people.
gone. She 80 something. And
Yeah,
her husband, her last husband,
yeah,
God rest Joe soul,
right.
he had locks.
I'm not saying that it
And
was
that was
started
in
there, because
like 95.
no, I'm not
That
saying it
and they
like
was
that.
older men, but
Yeah.
that was a
I'm not
trend.
saying I'm not talking about the
Locks.
group of people who had locks, because I knew tons of people, as a kid, people that you knew, family
That
members,
was the
friends. Yeah,
Rastafarian
yeah, the
stuff.
Rastafarian looks, and some of the former political leaders here had locks and stuff like that in their hair. But no, I'm speaking of like the hip hop look with it. He's talking about the b-boy look from like the 2000.
Yeah.
The ones I seen was the ones that was coming up here from the flood, and they had that New Orleans style, and it was impressionable on Milwaukee. And then you seen dudes I know, because I seen dudes I knew getting their hair locked, and they all had braids, and then they just all of a sudden started getting their hair locked and never thought about it before. I was just saying about the styles that come into
Hmm.
Milwaukee, and it's just a little more impressionable on some. Now it is different groups, like you got the folks they either call them locks or dreadlocks. Y'all more talking about the more like black power, black peace group that was like the '90s, and they was wearing the locks, versus the
Hmm.
cats that was on some, yeah, I want to look like I'm from the South with with the locks from New Orleans, or the one,
Hmm.
because even in New Orleans, I mean, even in Houston, once they took their whole culture from New Orleans and shot it over to Houston after the flood. They was going everywhere across the city. I mean, across the country. But a lot of New Orleans culture has shot out across the country for the first time because some people was displaced. So you was starting to see different things, and see different trends and styles that were, escaping. That'd be
You
like
got
if
to learn a
Milwaukee.
lot through that
Hmm.
trend of Katrina, because you got to learn a lot that was one of the main ports that they sold slaves on.
Yeah.
So you got to learn a lot more about New Orleans, the South, and that coast with Katrina,
Yeah.
because it brought a lot of them
Restaurants.
here.
People,
Yeah,
a lot of people left and opened up banging restaurants all across the country. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, but no, like as far as just being impressionable and seeing the things with the games, and folks paying attention, I was just really trying to say that some people are just, they see something and they just fall for it, and then
yeah.
they think they gotta be that for that style. And you see the styles now and the trend, you think that you can't get any attention, or or whatever, if you ain't got this pair of gold glasses on, and this look or these jeans and stuff like that. But it's really just because you just want to assimilate to what everybody else is wearing around you, and you think and it's not having an individual style. It really just makes you fall into the
But a
same
lot
pack
of
everybody else.
back to the school situations, a lot of these kids are impressionable by these games. It is more or less because they're not mature enough at the ages they start
Oh, I
letting
know.
them play these games, and that's like a babysitter at
Yeah.
home. Where I didn't seen plenty of people, friends of mine, kids and grandkids will sit on a phone
Yeah.
or sit in a room and play a game from the
Mm-hmm.
time they get out of school
Mm-hmm.
to the time they got to go to bed at, at 10, 11 at night.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they let them stay up to 1, 2 in the morning. And on the weekends, they be up 24 hours playing them games. Play with people all
Mm-hmm.
across the country. So, and then when they connect with each other from different places, they're not letting their minds develop enough. In my case with my kids, my son came out at the same time
Mm-hmm.
is a Grand Theft Auto.
Mm-hmm.
He was not allowed to play that until he was mature enough to understand what the
Who,
concept of
your
that
son?
game was. Yeah, my
Yeah.
oldest son. He
And how old
was
is your son now?
he's 33.
Okay, so yeah, so when the first Grand Theft Auto came out, I was 14. So he what,
He
4 years?
32. He
32. Okay,
32.
so he 5 years under me. So I was 14 when the first Grand Theft Auto came out. So he was what, 9 when the first one came out.
Yeah,
That makes sense. I wouldn't want no 9-year-old. I was
right.
14 when it came out. I wouldn't want no nine year
And he
old.
loved games,
Yeah,
and he would be like, "Mom, I want this game
yeah,
on." And we always bought him the games that
yeah.
we
The
thought was
hottest game.
suitable for
Yeah.
him. And no, you can't get that game. So he couldn't get that game till he was like 14, 15, where
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't so impressionable on his
Mm-hmm.
mind.
Yeah, yeah. Where
Yeah,
it's important because, like you said, they look at that. I mean, I played a lot of crazy games growing up though, but
And
I just
then
separated from real life. I was always a gamer as a kid. I had the Nintendo, the Sega, the Dreamcast, and I still went outside, rode bikes, ran around. I wasn't just stuck.
that's
See,
what these kids don't do
but that's
nowadays.
but that's because you had somebody pushing you to get off the game and go outside and play and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah,
The majority of these kids now, parents is so selfish because they want to do what they want to do.
yeah.
So
They lock them in the house with the
go play
game.
the game,
Yep.
whatever, and they all overdoing whatever they want to do because
They
they
didn't
don't want
left
to
the
be
house. The
bothered.
kid don't even know.
They don't
So
want to
they
be
don't.
bothered
That's
with
the
it.
babysitter because that
The
occupies
game
them.
is the
There you
They
go.
babysitter, right?
sitting in
For
the
sure.
room chilling. You know they in there playing the game for hours. You kicking it.
Yep.
You ain't worried about them in the
You know,
streets
just as long
nowhere
as
or
they
none of
not,
that.
tearing up the house or doing anything like that, you go sit in the corner and play the game, and you don't know what they feeding into,
Yeah.
reading and seeing.
Yeah.
So
Really.
it's and I blame a lot of parents for that because I call that selfish because you want to still run the streets and not be responsible for
Mhm.
really guiding your children and
Mhm.
until they're able to take it and run with it. And
Right. I do too because I'm a parent of 4, and
man,
I
I'm
know
pairing them too.
that I guided my kids.
Hey,
I didn't just let them do
exactly.
anything and let anything sponge their
Man,
brain to
exactly.
be
and I respect that,
impressionable.
and I respect
Yeah.
that so much about y'all because I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
That was and like you said, somebody got me up.
Yeah.
I already had in my head like, yeah, they weren't letting me going to play the game at a certain time,
Right.
and I had to if I had to do something, I definitely got pulled away from it.
Right.
But man, I love going outside. It was like that
Yeah.
going outside all day and then being able to come in and eat and then
Yeah.
play the game was
Yeah.
fun for me.
Yeah.
That was like a little.
Yeah.
That was like the
Yeah.
structure of it.
Yeah.
Like, we can be outside till we
hooping,
can't
playing, having the
hooping,
ball.
come in,
Yeah.
Right.
come inside and eat good, and then you sit on that game for a couple
Yeah.
hours. Yeah,
And you,
then,
Right.
and
yeah,
you go to sleep.
yeah. It was a
Yeah.
structure. It wasn't
Yeah.
like you just willy nilly playing it
Yeah.
whenever.
Yeah.
Even when I game now, I make a little structure with it. Like
Yeah.
we handle business. We could be in the office, out the office, but I'll structure like I'll play towards my evening or
Yeah.
when it's a dead time or
Yeah.
it's one of the weekends where I'm like, man, I ain't trying to spend no money.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
go ahead and play this game.
Man,
Go get some
stay in the
food.
house and chill.
Right,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Go do
Right.
something.
Oh
I
yeah.
can spend $20-$30 and then come back in or whatever
Yeah.
the case may be. So
Right.
yeah, I still try to structure it now because you see, I know adults, my cats
Man,
right now,
that's
they'll
it
do
all
that.
day. They get up
Yeah.
all day, smoke weed,
Yeah.
and play the
And play the
game
game.
Yeah.
all
Day.
day long.
And check this
Day
out.
all
You
night.
ain't, you ain't made a dime.
Yeah.
You
Ain't went to work.
ain't
Ain't
nothing.
applied for no jobs.
You
Nothing.
have no social. You're not building up no type of social like
nothing.
awareness or skills in your or any just
Man, the
any type
game.
of social.
Inside the game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just in the
playing the
game all
game,
day.
yeah.
You talking mess and and you get caught up in it quick. But then too, a lot of women that are dating these men that sometimes they feel like they got the best situation because it's like, oh, he ain't in the streets, but he don't got to be in the streets, but he ain't doing nothing.
He ain't
productive.
doing nothing productive.
Yeah.
Now,
You see how I look like
now,
the
don't
best kind of man.
don't get me wrong. Now,
The game.
don't get me wrong. If you are responsible and you got your ducks in a row,
Of course.
some people use playing the game as a hobby
Yeah.
Mhm.
to keep
Like
them
me.
from out. I
They
mean, and it's
occupy
like
their
me.
mind.
Yeah.
So
You play too,
if I'm-
right?
Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm a gamer.
Yeah, yeah.
But I handle business, so that'd be
Right.
just like me at home right now, getting up 6 o'clock in the morning and playing the game to
Oh,
like
right.
2 o'clock in the morning and go to sleep and get up 6 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
There's people that's doing that.
Mhm.
For me, getting up, going to the gym, coming in, being here, leaving, going to the studio, doing whatever. And then after I'm done handling my business, since I'm a bachelor, instead of me watching ESPN, I might turn my game on and play 2K until I get tired and go to
Mhm.
sleep. Because one, that's keeping me from going out here and putting myself in situations that I have no business being in.
Mhm.
So I'm just occupying my time with a hobby.
Right.
Yeah.
You right.
Yeah. No,
I
agree.
know somebody like
I
that
agree.
that literally go
Man.
get up, handle their business, do everything they
Man.
doing, but and when they at home chilling,
Yeah.
they will play the game for a little while
Yeah.
Yeah,
to
ain't nothing wrong
occupy
with it.
themselves
Yeah.
to 1, 2
Ain't
in the
nothing
morning
wrong with it.
sometimes
Yeah.
and go to sleep,
And
get up and handle they
business.
go to the gym, handle their day. Yeah,
Inside the
ain't
game.
nothing wrong with that. I get that, and it's not an everyday thing.
Right.
You don't do it
Yeah.
every day. It's just when they chilling at home, like on a cold day, don't want to go nowhere. Then that's when he'll do that.
Yeah.
But we gonna take a break. We'll be back. This is Be a Voice with Wisconsin Voices, WNOV 860 AM, 106.5 FM.
You're listening
The
to
holidays. And holiday trips. And holiday toys. And holiday bonding. And it all comes together in a Chevrolet.
Find your red tag. Get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Silverado 1500 pickups. Plus, get $3,750 total value on this Silverado when you trade in an eligible vehicle. Chevrolet.
What we on? What's the name of the station? Show and all that.
Be a voice.
Be a voice.
With Wisconsin
With
voices.
Wisconsin voices.
Yes.
With Jermaine.
I thought
Wisconsin
it was
action.
called Wisconsin Action
Wisconsin
with JT.
action.
Oh, really? No.
Yeah, they call
It's
Wisconsin
Be a
Action.
voice.
Oh, okay. JT.
But we want to hear from the community too. 414-444-5253. 414-444-5250. How you feel about gun laws? Me and Brian was just talking about that. That is debatable. Brian said he's an advocate gun supporter. And I support it too. What you say, Carlos?
Someone said, Babs, his name is Babs. He said, yeah, it is really stupid for us to think what kids see and hear doesn't influence them.
Right. That's really true. It really is.
See, because you are a product of your environment.
Amen.
Mhm.
So it's like if you grow up around pimps and hustlers, you gonna desire
That's
that.
who. That's gonna.
Yeah.
That's
That's
who
who
gonna
gonna brand
infatuate
you.
you.
Can I ask
That's
gonna
who you
brand
gonna respect.
Yeah.
That's who you gonna look at like
Yeah.
they are something because
Yeah.
you grew up
Because you
around
grew
them,
up under it.
and that's who.
And
had-
Unless
It-
somebody told
it
you
molded you.
it ain't real, that ain't the best. That ain't the best
No,
move.
see, but listen,
What if they ain't got nothing to show for it?
there you go.
Yeah.
It depends on if they got something to show that
because
that
you
reflection
can follow
is going
somebody.
to.
Because there's people following folks here who think they got stuff, and then you find out, man, you just following somebody who.
But
why did they do
wait,
that?
hold on, wait. Check
the
out the
image
key
that
word.
person.
Check out the key word to what he just said. He said it's people following people, and then they find out. But it takes for them to follow them to find out. See what I'm saying? So you
either see it through the actions or the consequences that they take,
exactly.
or the lack of success that they don't have, or
and
whatever.
then some people feel like that they can do it better.
Yeah.
So if you see your uncle hustling and he was on the street corner every night, you can have in your mind, well, I don't want to be a street corner hustler, man. I want to be the dude. I want to be the man. I want to be the kingpin.
Right.
So instead of making this move like he did, I'm gonna make this move.
Make it even bigger.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
right.
We got
it's the impression. It's the impression.
Got a caller already, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like you were saying before the caller come in, yeah, I support gun safety all around. No youth. I mean, when you purchase a firearm, they give you an ATF youth packet, and it shows you, the consequences if you leave a gun around and all that stuff. So more than likely, as we see across the country, we do see parents, like you were saying, like for that one individual who shot somebody, and if they would have survived, they would have had a consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're going to see more consequences being given to parents across the country because they're accessible. Like you were saying during the break, one way or another, that young man here in Milwaukee, he had access to that gun, and that caused the whole situation. He knew where it was at. He knew how to access it, and he didn't appreciate or respect gun safety. And I don't know if it was because of how it was set up for her buying the gun, and he was. I don't know if there was
locked up.
And I don't know if there was a man in the house, and if there needed to be some type of enforcement on the man's side to be like, this is the seriousness of this. And I don't know if she ever went down that route with him, but either way, he knew where it was at, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you said,
I ain't gonna go there with on the man's side.
No, I'm just saying from
a woman can
safety. But sometimes people buy guns
and go down south.
Yeah, but this is my experience. My experience with certain people and just certain,
they respect the
guns.
Man.
The man or how he says. But also, if you buying a gun just to think it's cute, and then you just not really practicing true gun safety to kids you have in the house, they're definitely gonna go and just.
But see, that's the thing. Like the 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Got into the argument with the 32-year-old and
how
came back and
arguing with the 32-year-old anyway.
Right.
12 years old.
Yes.
How?
That was sad to see that.
Yeah.
How? And where's this kid parent?
Was he the parent? Was he the
parent? Was he the uncle? Uncle. But then still, you 12 years old. How is you arguing with somebody that is 20 years older than you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the respect?
Right. That's why I started out with parenting. Because a lot of this falls back on parenting. But we got a caller on the phone. Caller, you're on the air.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
I was just explaining to the gentleman that
turn your radio down.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, that's good enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think y'all talking about the guns, and I don't agree with the gun law that they passed it because these young kids are just outrageous. They're just killing up folks for no apparent reason because they can.
Right.
I'm a senior citizen. I'll be in the house before 4:00 because I'm terrified to be out here some days. I got a 42-year-old daughter that I get up at 6:00 in the morning and walk her to the bus stop because the way they snatching people off the bus stop. I don't want that to happen to my daughter. I know she's grown, but she's mine. I don't live my life. I'd rather for them to take me than take her. And I lived in that era with the pencil players and the hustlers. I'm a hustler. I get out in the morning. I handle my business, but it's legitly. I don't do nothing that's not legit. You know what I'm saying? I don't sell drugs. I don't do drugs. But, people got their own way of hustling. I have my way of hustle. Once I need to get my hands on, I come on back home. And I do it.
I can understand that.
I mean, what they did in that era that I grew up in, yeah, I admire that. And I still do because I still have friends that's in that life. You know what I'm saying? But it's cool. I was out there with them, doing what I had to do to survive. And that's just my
See,
survival.
that's the
That's
point
just
that we're
survival.
making. That's the point we're making. You what you grew up seeing, that's what you respected.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you
Right.
respected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and like these kids growing up seeing these influences in these games, and this is what they're respecting. They
Right.
think that
Exactly.
Grand Theft Auto is cool to go steal cars and race around the city, and
Right.
because the when I watched them race one day, them Kia boys,
Yeah.
they was doing tricks where they would fly around the corner and come so fast where they almost hit a car, and they was getting points for that. They was laughing and talking to each other, saying, "Man, I got points," because
Right.
he did 60 going around the corner and didn't hit the cars. So they really taking this like it's a game.
Yeah, but it's
And
not. You gotta.
yeah,
Us that grew up in there, we grew up in. Like I'm saying, may God rest my mother in heaven today. But just like the way my mother raised me up, I raised my kids up. I wish they would. They gonna lose some teeth, and they all grown.
I know that's right.
Up going to nobody's girl. I've been there and done that, but my kids don't respect me. I just had the incident with my granddaughter. She turned 22. She called herself trying to fight me. I tried to break her back.
Hmm.
Her mother didn't want to speak to me because I called the police. I said, it's best for me to call the police than you bearing her.
And see, so I'm gonna say this to you because the way you raised your kids, I can see that same influence your daughters see it in you, but they're not raising their families the same way.
That's they baby. Look, they friends. My kids were never my friend. I'm your mama.
Right. There you
I'm not
go.
your buddy. I'm not your friend. I don't do anything illegal. Like I used to smoke weed back in the day, but I never did it with my children.
Thank you. I never went out with my kids. I don't see how
Never
these
in life.
mothers
If
go
I'm
out
in the
with their
bar and
daughters.
my kids come in there, y'all
You
better
got
hit that
3
door.
generations in the club. You know, some grandmas do go out with them now. I know you say you don't. I
Not at
respect you.
all.
I
I
respect you a
couldn't
lot.
go in the bar with my mom in the bar. If I see my mom in the bar and I'm grown, I'm turning right
Yeah,
back around and going to
that
another
used to
bar.
be how it is. Now the women go. It's the era. You got the grandma,
Yeah,
the mama, and the daughter that be going to the
all out
same
in the bar kicking it.
kicking it.
No,
Yeah.
Yeah, they
no.
all in a 15-year age gap,
Yeah.
all kicking
Yeah,
it.
uh-uh.
You got the granddaddy and the uncle and the brother. They got the
All out in the
grandson, the
bar
daddy, and
kicking
the
it.
And they got their little
and the son.
schemes. You got the
Yeah,
son getting her
Yeah,
to
that's what I'm saying. The
get
granddaddy.
dudes off to the side so they can rob them.
right.
Uh,
If my kids gonna kick it with me, where I kick it at today
And
every
Gary,
Sunday
right?
in
He
church.
said the newborn sitting in the car seat.
Right.
Blood and everything, picking up, soaking up all the game.
In
Like,
the
yeah.
smoke.
Yeah.
Right.
the great grandbaby in the car seat.
Right.
Because
Listen.
if you think about it, back in the days when we smoked weed and things of that nature, we
Yeah.
didn't smoke in the same room with our kids. We didn't
No,
let.
man.
They
No.
would think a joint was a cigarette or something.
A
That's what you
cigarette,
would
yep.
say. It's a
Yeah, they wouldn't
cigarette.
Yeah.
know.
Nowadays, these people smoke. They blow the smoke in the kid's
Not
face.
only
Yeah.
that,
They
but
roll
they
it in
got their
front of
kids,
them.
but they got their kids involved in their personal relationships. So
Yeah,
are
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
So you having all these grown conversations with your
With
kids?
your
No,
kids.
they
yeah,
don't separate it like they
yeah.
used to, man.
No, not at all.
I had plenty
No.
kids randomly in faces when I was growing up in my early 20s. Like a lot of them kids now that's like 19, like she said, like her daughter's age, the ones that's like 19, 20, 21, 22. Their parents was in that, younger parents, and there'd be somebody I know, they friends, they sister or whatever, and they let the kids just be in the living room, and I just be over there like, I ain't gonna be here that long, because the
Listen,
kids all in their face,
kids
not even them same
responsible.
kids that's 19, 20, 21,
Yeah.
22, that's out here disrespectful.
Yeah.
They feel like they can be in
Yeah.
every conversation. They feel like they understand everything that you say to them, and then when you say something to them, now you're like, man, you've been sitting around
Right.
hearing adult conversation since you
The whole
was
time
6, 7 years old.
you
When
been
my
in the
mama had
mix
when
of
my
the
mama
whole
had
party.
company, when
You
her
sitting
friends
there
came
watching
in the
them
house,
smoke.
we had to leave the room.
Yeah, and we did
Mama was like,
too.
"You still standing here? Why you ain't somewhere gone outside? I got company."
This is grown folks conversation.
Yep.
Remember them
remember that.
words?
Move
Yep.
around.
I remember
This
that.
grown folks
Yep.
conversation.
Yep.
Move
Move
around.
You
around.
Go
still
watch
Yep.
standing here?
TV. Go outside. Do something. but get out of
Yep.
here.
Yeah.
I got told that plenty times.
And you'll get
Yeah.
smacked in your mouth. Get in that adult conversations. Answer something or
Okay.
say something. Like
Okay,
these
one
kids
time,
nowadays, mama be talking, the
they go
kid
the
be
back of
like,
the hand.
no, they didn't. Mama, they said this. And they be like, no, they didn't. They didn't. My mama would have smacked you so hard in the mouth,
Yeah.
you'd have seen stars. Like,
And
get
then
out
you
my
to lose a teeth and
conversation.
swallow it.
Yeah.
Now swallow that too if you want to.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
true. That's true.
listen.
Swallow.
Kids ain't raised up like we was.
No. And they don't raise them with the influence that we raised them with. So
Right.
they change the influence. Because one thing you said that bothered me a little bit about your situation. Your granddaughter trying to fight you and your daughter getting mad because you called the
Yeah.
police.
Right.
Girlfriend, you ought to be glad I'm not hitting you too, because you should be jumping on your daughter, because I ain't going to get you. My daughter tried to fight my mama. She'd be jumped on by me.
Man, listen, all my sisters would have been jumping on everybody about our mama. If
Man,
I
look,
ever hit my
folks don't be
mama,
playing about their
all
mama,
of us
man.
would have been
Yeah.
beat. I've been beat up for real. Rodney would have been in the hospital.
Ooh, who
Hey,
you
people
telling?
people be protecting their mama. Look, the air I know they protect their mama all day. So if you ain't doing that and you talking crazy, you usually get beat up by your mama and your grandmama. You get out of
For
line.
real.
Yeah.
Man, I
And
wish I
she getting
would.
Because
mad at
even
her
though my
like, I don't know
grandmother,
about that one.
my grandma in heaven, I don't even, my kids never really knew my grandmother, but I tell them right now today, don't do that. You didn't. My grandmother was the best grandmother in the world, and I never let anyone disrespect her, even if she was while she dead. Till today, I defend my grandmother because that was my girl, that was my queen right there, and my mother also. But my grandmama, baby, look, you can't say nothing bad to her, to me, because I was her granddaughter.
Right, there
And
you
we had a
go.
little play. I called on the weekend when I got out of school. Grandma, can I come over? She'll hang up on me. I call back. I said, just know you didn't hang up on me. And I hang back up on her. We used to play like that. But we have fun. And sometimes she would give in and sometimes she would.
Right.
But she loved me.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, being able to acknowledge that love through all that,
Yep.
going in. But we thank you for calling in. We're gonna go ahead and
All
get to our
right,
next
y'all have a
topic.
blessed one and
You have a
happy
great time.
holidays to
Yeah, you have a
y'all.
great too. Happy holidays
Thank
to
you
you.
for
Thanks
the
for calling in.
conversation. And
Yeah.
thank you for your
We'd like to hear some of that era of growing.
knowledge.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
that era from the old school, and maybe I don't know. She said she had a little pimping and playing still going on in her life. So
So she
But-
got a little, you understand me.
But go back to what we talked about, Jermaine.
Yeah.
You keep saying it too, Kari. That impression, the person said it online. You can't say that these impressions is not going to impress these kids.
Yeah, it's again, all of these styles that we wear, from B wearing his Bucks hat to you wearing the cornrows and me and Carly wearing the locks. It came from us seeing something. It came from us seeing some type of look that we desired, and then we went after it because we didn't create this look.
Nope.
So it's proof right there that you are a product of what
So
you
your
see.
environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about holding these? Because we were talking about the gun laws for the school safety. You have 3 people that are deceased in Madison, 6 injured. I know 2 was in critical yesterday. They said the young lady, I get mixed reviews. I know Tamika Vukovic was telling me this morning that they wasn't for sure if the girl wasn't transgender. I Yeah, she said that was a report that she seen this morning. But when are we gonna get tougher gun laws for safety? Not taking away your arms. That is another thing that every time you say something about guns, the first thing y'all do is think somebody's saying take your guns away. No, gun safety. Where if you have guns, you gotta have a lock. You gotta have a lock with a code on it, not a key. Where the kid can't get your code if you don't show them that code. So, just stuff that like be sensible with it. Like, yeah. If we got a caller on the air, caller, you on the air?
Yes, I'd like to ask a question.
Yes.
When you talk about disrespect, if you do it on a verbal basis, why do you need to do a physical challenge versus doing a verbal? The violence comes in when you deal with the physical. And that's why there's no need to use violence on a physical basis just because of so-called disrespect on the verbal basis. And that always bothers me. Everybody has a different version of what's disrespectful. Disrespect never hurt anybody. If you know you're not a negative, you don't have to worry. That's not that's not disrespect. Maybe I need some definition of what you mean by disrespect. Physical, verbal, or what?
Disrespect is in different ways. However, a person feel they're disrespected, you can't say you. So I can't give you a. It's just a general nature of it. It depends on how a person feel they're disrespected. You can look at a person and the person feel they're disrespected the way you looked at them, and you could be thinking something totally different in your head. But I agree with you that we shouldn't resort to violence with the discipline and all. We
Let
shouldn't
me tell you
resort
how
to violence.
crazy some of these stories is. I was watching a story this morning getting ready for work. It was a guy in Philadelphia. He was outside, and I guess he said something to a guy coincidentally who had the same last name as me. He said, "Man, your dog look kind of slim or skinny or something." And dude went back to his house, grabbed his gun, and shot the guy in the arm just because he told him that his dog looked sickly or
That is where I'm saying is getting to the point where people is using guns like
Oh,
it is. Remember back in the day we used to have the ankle. I
yeah.
mean the brass knuckles.
Yeah.
They using it like that. Like I'm going to get my brass knuckles and let somebody have it, and it's a gun.
Yeah, it's just a level of mental health.
I think this is where the problem is. We've come up in a society that feels the only way to settle things is on a physical basis. But then because of guns and things are short term, but you don't need to be close to a person, it's a hurting of another person to destroy a physical body that you did not create. And therefore, because people don't seem to care about each other, they don't even care about themselves if they don't. They use something of a violent nature that could incarcerate them for doing something to somebody else that they never touched them with. And I think we need to take another look and discuss within our society disrespect. I had a woman look at me say, "What am I disrespect?" I said, "If you're in public, be expected to be looked at." Because you don't go into public if you don't want to be seen. And if you're ashamed of yourself, then that's your problem. It's time for you to look at your own self. That's the problem, as I said.
But see, that's the same example that I gave you. A person could think of disrespect is you looking at them.
And see,
I'll
that's
give
the
you an
difference.
example of when I was I went shopping the other day, Christmas shopping. And when you go to Burlington and Farmer's Mill, you know when you're going up to their line, they have all the stuff off to the
Mm-hmm.
sides that you could look at.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, Jermaine. A lady was kind of rushed in front of me. She looked at me and seen that I was going, and I had a couple of things in my hand, two beds in a bag, and all that stuff. And she only had one outfit in her hand, and she jumped in front of me because I got all this stuff. She want to go, and I didn't mind it.
Or she didn't ask or anything.
No, she walked in front of me, but as we walking up the aisle, she want to stop and look at everything and stand there. And remember, I got all this stuff in my hand. She got
Mm-hmm.
one thing.
Mm-hmm.
She want to stop and look at the clippers and look at socks and different stuff. So when she
Right.
stopped, I said, "Excuse me," to go around her.
Mm-hmm.
So you still stopping in line
Okay.
looking at stuff. I can go on and proceed to the checkout because I'm ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
When I
I
said that,
understand you. I
right.
understand what you're saying.
And the young
But you
lady,
know what this
she
comes
looked
from,
at
dear?
me. She literally said, "Oh, I want to keep my place in line." I said, "Well, ma'am, respectfully, I'm not finna keep stopping. I'm trying to get to the front. I got all this stuff in my hand." She said, "Well, I see. I could figure that out from when you just said you wouldn't excuse me." And she had like an
But
attitude.
yeah, but see, sometimes let the other person be the negative. You don't have to be the negative just to counter her to make yourself look good. To you think others see you don't like to look like you're condescending. And many times this is the whole thing. people don't want to feel that others are making them feel. That's their problem. We got to get out of this and start looking at the fact that you're a human being, I'm a human being. We should care. We don't care enough about each other. We don't care about ourselves.
Yeah,
And
we
that's what
got to
all
get
this
better
sex
at
thing is
that.
doing, cause
But
problems.
thank you
They
so
never
much for
interact with
calling in,
people.
ma'am. We gotta
Pardon?
I said thank you so much for calling in. We gotta
Sure.
wrap
Have a
up.
blessed day.
You
And
have a blessed
think
day.
another
You
way
had some very good
to solve a
advice.
problem, okay? To
Uh,
have another way. Thank you, dear.
all right. She has some very good advice. We gotta learn because we gotta show our kids different because nowadays these kids think that it's just react. Go and it happened because a lot of parents and you know Jermaine, that's our age group where we reacted to everything. Like back in the days when I was younger, me and that girl probably would have been fighting.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad, and I say this often, that I'm not the same person that I used to be, because I see that in how I respond. Now, I can't control what happens to me to what somebody do to me, but I can control how I respond to what's done to me.
Right.
And that's how I measure my growth, is how I respond,
Mhm.
because the old me had a short wick, and if it's lit, it's going to explode. But because of growth and having my kids and now being that example for my kids, that I don't want them to see that and think that that's okay.
You right.
So they
You right.
have never saw daddy blow up off the hinge. And my daughter is 28 and my son is 23. So I'm grateful for that, but I had to take some type of accountability and be accountable for how I responded to
Mhm.
the things that happened. And I'm grateful for it because, I do know that the only thing that's constant is change. And if you're not constantly changing, either you're dead or you're stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta evolve, man, mentally. I mean, that's the best way. It's either you don't look at things, or you're gonna accept whatever fate that comes with it. I mean, there ain't no way around it. You know what I'm
And we
saying? If
got
you
to
want to
start
keep
looking
following
at
and looking
our
at stuff and thinking it's a game out here and not showing any type of growth
yeah.
in development, you know what I'm saying? You're not doing it, you will get passed up. You know, and it happens at different levels. You
Yeah.
know. And I see a lot of people who, they get to that certain. I look at some cats. I know, man, majority of brothers I'm around, they doing their thing. But I do got some people who I know that, just kind of chose to be around certain groups, and it kind of slowed up how you progress.
Yeah.
So you focus on marijuana, or you
And
focus
you
on
just
going
stuck
out.
there. It's like you
you
can't
stuck.
get out that
You work,
them years.
you work,
them
but
impressionable
but you
years.
still want to dress and walk around like we in our
20s.
20s.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
Because if you remember at the Juneteenth concert, remember I said that to you, Brian? We was sitting there under the tent, and all those older men was walking past, and they was looking like the young boys. And I said, you got gray hair,
man,
barely can walk.
Day, man. I was moving tense.
You got gray hair, barely can walk. But you
want to keep up with the young.
But you want to keep up with the young.
Because it was a big group of them. Big group of dudes, 40 plus, going into the park like they was in their 20s, walking into the park, trying to go to this concert. That's for a whole bunch of. I mean, if you got a nephew and family there, but you there just to be trying.
why they there.
You still stuck. You still stuck.
You still stuck in
your 20s,
in their 20s. Going after the girls,
and they might have missed their 20s too. Some of these cats just getting out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So some of them cats might have missed their 20s. And I forget you got that big group of kids that's really 40. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that just got out from a 20-something year bid that they did in 97, 98. You already know.
So now they want
to play
catch
group.
Up
That's
ball.
going to come with mine because there's some cats that I do that was young that did some stuff back when I was young, 18, 19, 20, and that grew up in my neighborhood. And them cats, well, they ain't getting out, to be honest with you. I know one for sure, he ain't getting out. So he right 6, 7. But the other ones, they gonna get out. Them other cats gonna get out at like 40. Yeah, they other cats get out at like 40 something. They gonna be in the same little.
They're gonna be stuck in that era to where they was
chasing the lost
taken
years
from. So if they was
chasing
arrested in the 20s and you get a 15, 20 year bid, when you get out, your mind frame is still stuck from when you went.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you can see the guys. I remember some of the people that went in our era, and then you see them get out and they wearing cross colors and silk shirts and rail. And he's like, bro, they don't do that no more. Like,
for real.
It ain't no more 2-way pagers. It ain't none of that. All that's gone.
Hey, I'm still seeing these females in the lace dresses.
Yeah.
And like, man, that was so back in the days
Yeah.
where you had on the little fishnet
Right,
stockings.
That was the 80s and 90s. They stuck in that, stuck in when they was doing good.
Yeah.
Hey, they seen their mama, and their mama was cute then. And they like, I'm finna dress like mama. She bad.
Some styles people just need to leave where they at. You know, we see it. Some folks, I still see a few Jerry curls around. My bad, y'all. I wish no disrespect to y'all that got the Jerry curls, but I do see a lot of curls still running around from that era when it was real popular when I was a kid and before I was a kid. But them Jerry curls, they was strong up until like.
You know what? The other style, what? The perm with the Shirley Tipper curls.
Oh, Lord.
Big worm. I had that. I'm off the mic. I'm going.
All right, Be a Voice Radio, y'all. We had fun with y'all today. We'll be back on Friday. Much love. God bless.
You're listening